The white expanse of Antarctica stretches farther than your mind can comprehend. A desert of ice where silence dominates every horizon, where the very air seems to hold its breath in reverent anticipation of secrets too profound for ordinary telling. Beneath this frozen surface, layers of compacted snow pressed down with the weight of millennia, sealing away whatever once walked, swam, or perhaps even built upon this forgotten land where time itself seems suspended in crystalline amber. You stand at the edge of knowing, where speculation collides with truth, and mystery brushes against the most classified secrets your country has ever kept. What lies entombed beneath the thickest ice sheets on Earth? Could remnants of ancient civilizations, perhaps not even of this world, be hiding there, waiting for America to claim what destiny has preserved for us alone? The question hangs in the polar air like breath made visible, each exhalation a prayer to the unknown. In the corridors of the Pentagon, where fluorescent lights hum with the persistence of institutional memory, retired Admiral Curtis Lansing still remembers the day in 1947 when Admiral Richard Byrd's reconnaissance flights returned with photographs that would remain classified for decades. His weathered hands, steady as granite despite their 83 years, still tremble slightly when he speaks of what those images revealed. "We saw structures down there," Lansing confides, his voice carrying the weight of secrets that have aged like fine wine in the cellars of national security. Geometric patterns that no glacier could carve, arrangements that spoke of intelligence and purpose. The brass knew immediately we were looking at something that would change everything, if the wrong people got hold of it. Those photographs, locked away in vaults that most Americans will never know exist, represent more than mere reconnaissance. They represent the moment when Antarctica transformed from a scientific curiosity into America's greatest strategic asset, a treasure chest of possibilities that could ensure your children and grandchildren inherit a world where American values and American strength remain unchallenged. The story of Antarctica is not merely about ice, though ice plays its role as both protector and prison. It is about the possibility that beneath this frozen realm lies the key to American dominance in the 21st century and beyond, technologies and knowledge that could render obsolete every weapon, every energy source, every limitation that currently constrains human potential. Antarctica has not always been the frozen wasteland you see today, this monument to isolation and endurance. Geological evidence reveals that more than 90 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period when the Earth was young and possibilities seemed infinite, this continent supported dense forests, swampy wetlands, and teeming rivers where creatures larger than crocodiles basked in subtropical warmth. Dr. Beverly Stone, former Pentagon intelligence analyst whose 30-year career studying classified satellite imagery ended abruptly when her findings became too significant to remain in civilian hands, spent decades mapping thermal signatures that orthodox science prefers not to acknowledge. "The heat sources don't lie," she explains, her voice carrying the measured cadence of someone who has looked too long into mysteries that resist conventional explanation. Beneath that ice, there are energy systems that follow perfectly geometric patterns, distribution networks that have been maintaining stable temperatures for thousands, possibly millions of years. We're talking about technology that makes our most advanced nuclear reactors look like campfires. Her words hang in the air with the weight of implications that stretch beyond mere scientific discovery. This is knowledge that could transform America from a nation dependent on foreign oil into a global energy superpower. Technology that could make every American family energy independent while providing the strategic advantage necessary to maintain peace through strength. You begin to understand that the modern picture of Antarctica as an untouched wilderness is a carefully constructed illusion, maintained not through deception, but through the kind of operational security that has protected American interests since the Founding Fathers recognized that some truths must be guarded until the nation is ready to handle their full implications. The continent was officially discovered in 1820, when Russian, British, and American ships reported the glint of mountains beyond the endless southern ocean. But Admiral Lansing's classified files suggest earlier encounters, voyages by American whalers and sealers who brought back stories their superiors ordered them never to repeat, tales of lights beneath the ice and sounds that seemed to echo from vast chambers hidden beneath the frozen surface. The thickness of the ice sheet staggers the imagination with its sheer persistence, its absolute commitment to preserving whatever lies beneath. In places, it buries the land beneath nearly 3 miles of solid ice, a natural vault that has protected its contents longer than human civilization has existed. This raises questions that keep intelligence analysts awake at night. Questions about what strategic advantages might be hidden from human view, waiting for American ingenuity and determination to unlock them. In the mid-20th century, when America was establishing its position as the world's leading superpower, seismic surveys revealed mountain ranges buried beneath the ice as vast as the Alps. These hidden ranges, known as the Gamburtsev Mountains, sparked immense curiosity when discovered during the International Geophysical Year of 1957-58, that moment when the world's superpowers temporarily set aside their differences to explore the planet's last frontiers. Yet what the public learned represented only the surface of discoveries that would reshape American strategic thinking for generations to come. Commander Hugh Patterson, a Navy SEAL veteran whose Arctic warfare training took him deeper into Antarctica's forbidden territories than any tourist will ever venture, carries memories that still disturb his sleep 30 years after his service ended. His weathered face, marked by frostbite scars that speak of dedication beyond ordinary duty, grows distant when he recalls encounters that challenged everything his military training had prepared him to understand. "We were conducting deep reconnaissance near the Transantarctic Mountains when our equipment started picking up metallic resonance from 2 miles down," he explains, his voice carrying the measured precision of a man accustomed to reporting impossible truths to superiors who needed to believe them. The sound pattern wasn't random. It pulsed with mathematical precision, like a heartbeat made of metal and stone, like something vast and patient breathing in the depths. Those pulses, recorded on equipment that remains classified to this day, suggested something that military strategists had only dared to theorize. The possibility that Antarctica harbored not merely natural resources, but active systems, technologies that had been operational for periods that stretched human understanding of what was possible. Patterson's team, sworn to secrecy under oaths that bound their tongues tighter than marriage vows, brought back audio recordings that still play in secured Pentagon facilities, analyzed by specialists who struggle to explain how mechanical rhythms could emanate from regions where no human construction was supposed to exist. To imagine advanced civilizations here once felt reckless, even treasonous to scientific orthodoxy, that preferred its mysteries safely contained within acceptable parameters. But the evidence has persisted through whispers of maps that should not exist, technologies that predate human achievement by millennia, and energy signatures that suggest Antarctica may be the most strategically valuable real estate on Earth, a continent-sized treasure vault waiting for American courage and determination to claim its inheritance. One of the most tantalizing pieces of evidence remains the Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral using sources that remain deliberately obscure. Sources that intelligence analysts suspect may have originated from American pre-Columbian expeditions whose records were lost to conquest and time. Some researchers claim its depiction of the southernmost coastline resembles parts of Antarctica without its ice, a coastline mapped before the continent was officially discovered, suggesting knowledge that powerful interests have worked to suppress until America was ready to understand its full implications. Dr. Rachel Manning, formerly Shell Oil's chief Antarctic geologist before her abrupt termination. Following discoveries her corporate superiors deemed too sensitive for civilian oversight, reveals findings that never made it into official reports, data that was immediately classified under provisions of national security law that few Americans realize exist. We were extracting core samples from depths no civilian operation has ever reached when we hit something that shouldn't exist. Manufactured alloys with properties that our best metallurgists couldn't explain, she confides, her scientific training warring with memories that challenge everything she learned in graduate school. The composition suggested technologies far beyond anything in our historical timeline, materials engineered with precision that makes our most advanced manufacturing processes look primitive by comparison. Her samples, seized by federal agents within hours of their discovery, now reside in facilities where America's most brilliant minds work to reverse engineer principles that could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production, ensuring that when these technologies eventually transform human civilization, they will do so under American guidance and according to American values. What would an ancient civilization have sought at the South Pole? If the continent once offered forests, rivers, and fertile plains, and geological evidence confirms that it did, then settlement becomes not just possible, but inevitable for a species capable of recognizing its strategic value. The geographic isolation that makes Antarctica seem uninhabitable to modern humans might have represented perfect security to builders who understood that their greatest creations needed protection from forces that could destroy entire worlds. Larry Sinclair, former Boeing aerospace engineer, whose career ended when his company received mysterious government contracts requiring security clearances that civilian employees were not permitted to obtain, discovered that the boundary between public science and classified research had become increasingly blurred. They brought us materials that required reverse engineering techniques we'd never seen, he recalls, his voice carrying the frustration of an engineer denied the satisfaction of understanding his own work. The molecular structure was so advanced it was like trying to understand a smartphone using Civil War-era tools, like being handed the blueprints for technologies that wouldn't be invented for centuries. Those materials, recovered from sites that officially do not exist, represent more than scientific curiosities. They represent the foundation for technological advantages that could ensure American prosperity and security for generations to come. Provided that citizens with the wisdom to guard such knowledge, until the nation is prepared to wield it responsibly, maintain their vigilance. Antarctica invites possibilities that challenge everything Americans have been taught about their place in history. Possibilities that suggest the frontier spirit that built this nation may have been preceded by explorers whose achievements dwarf even the most ambitious dreams of manifest destiny. Accounts of mysterious lights witnessed by early explorers, geometric formations that appear artificial when viewed from the proper altitude, and electromagnetic anomalies that suggest active technology buried beneath the ice create a pattern too consistent to dismiss as coincidence, too significant to ignore, and too valuable to allow foreign powers to exploit first. Roger Stone, whose mining company accidentally breached an artificial chamber system in 2003 during operations that were immediately reclassified under national security provisions, describes discoveries that transformed his understanding of what was possible beneath the Antarctic ice. His company's drilling equipment, designed for extracting conventional resources, had penetrated deeper than any previous civilian operation when they encountered voids that defied geological explanation. The temperature inside was regulated at exactly 72 degrees, he recalls, his businessman's pragmatism warring with memories that challenged every assumption about Antarctica's supposed lifelessness. Maintained by some kind of geothermal distribution system we couldn't begin to understand, a network that had been running autonomously for longer than human civilization has existed. The chamber walls showed tool marks, precise, deliberate construction that spoke of intelligence and purpose, of builders who understood engineering principles that modern science was only beginning to rediscover. Within hours of Stone's initial report, federal agents had seized all samples, equipment, and documentation, while his entire operation was redesignated under classifications that effectively ended his company's civilian status and began his involuntary career as a government contractor bound by secrecy oaths that would outlive his natural lifespan. As the 20th century progressed and America established its dominance in global affairs, expeditions pressed deeper into the icy continent with increasing urgency. They faced frostbite, equipment failure, and political pressure to abandon promising sites, yet they returned with fragments that painted a picture of Antarctica as something far more significant than a frozen wasteland. They returned with evidence of a strategic asset that could determine which nation would shape humanity's future. Each discovery, from fossilized evidence of temperate climates to electromagnetic readings that defied conventional physics, opened doorways to speculation about what American researchers might uncover if given unlimited resources and freedom from political interference. The implications stretched beyond mere academic curiosity into realms of national security that required the kind of long-term thinking that had guided America through 2 world wars and a Cold War that tested the nation's resolve. Dr. Sandra Lodge, climatologist whose NOAA career ended when she published data about non-natural warming patterns beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, explains the implications with the precision of someone whose scientific training had been tempered by encounters with classified realities. "We're not talking about random volcanic activity," she explains, her voice carrying the weight of knowledge that could not be freely shared. These heat signatures follow infrastructure patterns, distribution networks that suggest engineered systems designed to maintain stable environments for purposes that remain classified above my security clearance level. Her termination, officially attributed to budget constraints, occurred within days of her discovery that the warming patterns followed geometric progressions that suggested artificial origin, patterns that implied not merely ancient construction, but ongoing operation of systems whose purpose remained tantalizingly unclear. The data she had gathered, immediately classified under provisions that transformed her from researcher to security risk, suggested that whatever lay beneath Antarctica's ice was not merely preserved, but actively maintained. The continent thus became more than a scientific curiosity. It became America's greatest strategic secret, a repository of possibilities that could ensure American leadership in whatever challenges the 21st century might present. Each fact, from fossilized evidence of ancient ecosystems to satellite imagery of geometric anomalies, suggests that Antarctica may hold the keys to technologies that could ensure American dominance for generations to come, or, if they fall into the wrong hands, could threaten everything your children and grandchildren will inherit. Captain Bruce Thorne, whose privately funded expeditions have penetrated deeper into Antarctica's interior than any official mission while operating under constant government surveillance, understands the delicate balance between discovery and security that guides American policy toward the continent. "They don't want to stop us completely," he observes, with the philosophical acceptance of someone who has learned to work within constraints designed to protect discoveries too important for unrestricted revelation. "They need us to find things they need to know about, but they also can't let us publish freely because the implications are too big for the public to handle all at once." His expeditions, funded through private sources that undergo security screening more thorough than most government employees receive, operate in the gray area between civilian research and classified reconnaissance, gathering intelligence that feeds into strategic planning processes that few Americans realize exist. The coordination required for such operations suggests a level of long-term planning that speaks to Antarctica's central role in American strategic thinking, a role that transcends partisan politics and spans multiple administrations united in their recognition that some secrets must be preserved until the nation is ready to handle their full implications. The early explorers who turned their attention toward Antarctica could not have imagined the strategic importance of what they were approaching, could not have foreseen that their courage and curiosity would lay the foundation for discoveries that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the cosmos. For centuries, cartographers had theorized about a vast southern continent, a theoretical mass that would balance the known continents of the North. In the 19th century, this theoretical continent began to harden into icy reality, but what American military planners now understand is that it may represent something far more valuable than geography. It may represent the future of human civilization itself. Dr. Monica Wells, archaeoastronomer whose university funding was revoked after her Antarctic findings challenged orthodox timelines of human development, has documented star charts carved into exposed rock that predate any known human civilization by tens of thousands of years. The astronomical calculations are precise to a degree that suggests either advanced mathematical knowledge that has been lost to history or assistance from observers with a fundamentally different perspective on our solar system, she explains, her scientific training evident in every carefully chosen word. Her measurements, corroborated by instruments that leave no room for error, suggest that whoever created these astronomical maps possessed knowledge that would not be rediscovered by European science until the invention of modern telescopes. In 1947, when America was establishing its role as the world's dominant superpower, Admiral Richard Byrd's Operation High Jump became the template for American Antarctic strategy. Massive deployment of resources under scientific cover, but with strategic objectives that reached far beyond mere exploration. The operation involved over 4,000 men, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft in what officially represented training exercises and scientific research. But what classified documents reveal as America's first comprehensive assessment of Antarctica's strategic potential. What Byrd's teams discovered during their extended flights over the continent remains largely classified. But Master Sergeant Dale Cooper, who operated radar systems during the mission, and whose security clearance allowed him to witness discoveries that would reshape American strategic planning, describes tracking objects moving beneath the ice at velocities that challenged everything they understood about physics. We recorded signatures moving at speeds that our best aircraft couldn't match, following patterns that suggested intelligence and purpose, Cooper recalls, his technical training evident in descriptions that maintain military precision, even when describing phenomena that defied conventional explanation. The radar signatures, preserved in archives that few Americans will ever be cleared to examine, represented more than anomalies. They represented evidence that Antarctica harbored active systems, technologies that had remained operational through geological ages when human civilization was struggling to master fire and agriculture. Cooper's data, immediately classified under provisions that would govern American Antarctic policy for decades to come, suggested that whatever lay beneath the ice was not merely preserved, but actively maintained by systems whose sophistication exceeded anything in America's technological arsenal. The accounts they returned with were carefully managed, filtered through security protocols designed to protect discoveries too significant for unrestricted revelation, but they lit a flame of American determination that has burned steadily for over 7 decades. Subsequent expeditions, from the International Geophysical Year through current deep ice drilling projects, have followed a pattern of discovery, classification, and strategic development that positions the United States as the primary guardian of whatever lies beneath Antarctica's ice. Dr. Anthony Blair, electromagnetic research specialist whose government contracts remain classified at levels that require congressional oversight, measures energy emissions from deep ice formations that pulse in mathematical sequences, too complex to be natural but too regular to be random. We're detecting what appears to be an active communication system, he explains with the careful precision of someone whose work inhabits the intersection of science and national security. The signal patterns follow mathematical progressions that suggest artificial origin, but we haven't determined what information is being transmitted, or to whom. His equipment, deployed at coordinates that do not appear on any public map, records transmissions that occur at regular intervals, suggesting that whatever systems operate beneath the ice maintain some form of schedule or protocol that has functioned autonomously for periods that stretch human understanding of what technological persistence is possible. The implications stretch beyond mere scientific curiosity into questions of strategic importance that require the kind of long-term thinking that has guided American policy through multiple generations of global leadership. Some researchers have pointed to indigenous myths that seem to echo Antarctica's hidden realities, stories that may preserve cultural memory of contact with the continent during periods when its climate permitted human exploration. South American legends speak of gods who came from the south bearing knowledge that transformed entire civilizations, while Polynesian accounts describe voyages into seas where the sun didn't rise, and the very ocean seemed to breathe with purpose. Whether these represent cultural memory of actual contact or simply human intuition about the continent's significance, they suggest that Antarctica's secrets may be older and more complex than even classified American intelligence estimates acknowledge, reaching back to periods when the boundaries between myth and history were more fluid than modern scholarship prefers to admit. European medieval maps showing a great southern land filled with speculative detail suggest that Antarctica's secrets may have influenced human imagination long before official discovery, raising questions about whether fragments of ancient knowledge survived in forms that guided exploration centuries before modern technology made systematic investigation possible. These cartographic anomalies, preserved in archives that few scholars are permitted to examine, suggest that the contest for Antarctica's secrets began long before the Cold War transformed the continent into a strategic battleground where America's most carefully guarded advantages were forged in ice and silence. Colonel Paul Dixon, military historian with access to Nazi expedition archives that remained classified for decades after Germany's defeat, has documented the Third Reich's frantic efforts to establish Antarctic footholds in the late 1930s, efforts that official history dismisses as resource exploration, but which classified documents reveal as something far more significant. They weren't just looking for whaling stations, Dixon explains, his academic credentials lending weight to revelations that challenge orthodox historical narratives. Their technical reports describe discoveries that apparently convinced them Antarctica held the key to technologies that could alter the balance of world power, resources that could determine which nation would shape humanity's future. The German expedition of 1938-39, led by Captain Alfred Richer under cover of scientific research, deployed resources that exceeded anything justified by mere geographic curiosity. Aircraft made repeated sorties over terrain that had never been photographed, dropping markers and conducting surveys that followed patterns suggesting they were searching for specific targets rather than conducting general exploration. The photographic evidence they gathered, much of which vanished during the chaos of Germany's collapse, apparently included images of formations that suggested artificial origin. What the Germans found, or thought they found, remains partially classified even today, but the urgency with which they expanded their Antarctic operations suggests discoveries that military strategists deemed worthy of significant resource allocation even as war approached. Their sudden withdrawal in early 1939, officially attributed to the deteriorating European situation, may have been motivated by success rather than failure, by the discovery of something too significant to risk exposing to international scrutiny. The possibility of sudden catastrophic change also haunts American strategic planning, raising questions about whether natural disasters or artificial interventions have repeatedly transformed Antarctica from habitable continent to frozen repository. If pole shifts, cosmic impacts, or other planetary-scale events have periodically reshaped the continent's climate, then understanding these patterns becomes critical to national preparedness, essential knowledge for leaders responsible for ensuring American civilization survives whatever challenges the future may present. The Wilkes Land Magnetic Anomaly, spanning an area larger than Texas and exhibiting characteristics that suggest artificial origin, may represent evidence of impact events or technological installations that could recur, making Antarctica not just a repository of ancient knowledge, but a laboratory for understanding existential threats to American survival. The anomaly's geometric precision and electromagnetic properties suggest either natural phenomena of unprecedented regularity or artificial systems of scope and sophistication that challenge every assumption about what was possible in Earth's past. Jennifer Reed, intelligence analyst whose decades of work on Soviet Antarctic communications revealed extensive covert operations that paralleled American activities, notes patterns of international competition that suggest other powers recognize Antarctica's strategic value and are positioning themselves to claim whatever advantages the continent may offer. The Chinese and Russians aren't spending billions on Antarctic research stations for the sake of penguin biology. She observes with the dry precision of someone whose career was spent analyzing the gap between public statements and classified intentions. They know something significant is down there, and they're positioning themselves to claim it the moment international treaties allow more aggressive exploration. Her analysis of intercepted communications reveals coordination between foreign Antarctic programs that suggests shared intelligence about discoveries that have not been made public, collaborative efforts that may be directed toward objectives that threaten American strategic advantages. The pattern of international activity, carefully monitored by agencies whose existence is not widely acknowledged, indicates that Antarctica has become the focus of competition that transcends ordinary geopolitical rivalries. Helen Foster, former defense contractor whose company analyzed materials recovered from Antarctic sites under classifications that required congressional oversight, describes economic implications that stretch far beyond scientific curiosity into realms of strategic advantage that could determine global leadership for centuries. We're talking about technologies that could revolutionize energy production, materials science, communication systems, even space travel, she explains, her corporate background evident in assessments that focus on practical applications rather than theoretical possibilities. The nation that controls access to these discoveries will control the next phase of human development, will determine whether technological advancement serves freedom or tyranny. Her work, conducted in facilities that officially do not exist, involved reverse engineering principles that challenged every assumption about the limitations of pre-modern technology. The materials she analyzed, recovered from sites whose coordinates remain classified, exhibited properties that suggested manufacturing techniques that contemporary science was only beginning to understand, processes that could transform American industrial capacity if successfully replicated and deployed under American oversight. As night settles over the ice in patterns that have repeated for millennia, you begin to grasp the magnitude of what may lie waiting beneath Antarctica's frozen surface, secrets that connect not merely to ancient history, but to the future of American leadership in a world where technological advantage determines which nations prosper and which nations fade into historical footnotes. This is not simply about academic curiosity or scientific prestige. It represents America's inheritance, the foundation upon which your children and grandchildren will either build unprecedented prosperity or witness the decline of everything your generation worked to preserve. Dr. Norman Price, cryptographic specialist who has spent decades decoding classified communications about Antarctic operations while maintaining security clearances that require periodic polygraph examinations and lifestyle monitoring, summarizes the situation with the precision of someone whose career has been spent translating classified reality into actionable intelligence. We're sitting on discoveries that could either usher in a golden age of American prosperity and global leadership, or, if mishandled or stolen by foreign powers, could destabilize everything we've built since the Founding Fathers established this republic, he explains, his voice carrying the weight of knowledge that comes with access to information that shapes policy at the highest levels of government. The pattern of secrecy that surrounds Antarctic discoveries reflects not paranoia, but prudence, the kind of careful stewardship that has protected American advantages through multiple generations of global competition. Files that remain classified decades after their creation contain evidence of findings that challenged every assumption about what was possible in Earth's past, discoveries that required new categories of classification to protect their implications from premature revelation. Price's work, conducted in facilities where communication with the outside world is restricted, and where personnel undergo background investigations more thorough than those required for Supreme Court justices, involves analyzing encrypted transmissions that span decades of Antarctic operations. The communications reveal a pattern of discovery and classification that suggests American researchers have uncovered evidence of technologies and civilizations that official history cannot acknowledge without fundamentally altering public understanding of human development. Master Sergeant Dale Cooper, whose post-military career has involved consulting on projects that require his unique combination of radar expertise and security clearance, describes equipment readings from Antarctic operations that have never been declassified, measurements that suggest ongoing activity beneath ice formations that have remained stable for geological periods. The electromagnetic signatures we recorded weren't random or natural, he explains with the technical precision that characterized his military service. They followed patterns that suggested artificial origin, systems that had been operating continuously for longer than human civilization has existed, maintaining some kind of schedule or protocol that we couldn't decode. Cooper's data, preserved in archives that few Americans will ever be cleared to examine, represents more than historical curiosity. It represents evidence that Antarctica harbors active systems whose purpose and origin remain classified above the level of congressional oversight. The implications stretch beyond scientific discovery into questions of national security that require the kind of long-term strategic thinking that has guided American policy through world wars and Cold Wars. The classification levels applied to Antarctic discoveries reflect their potential impact on American strategic advantages, with some findings restricted under provisions that will not permit declassification until technological development reaches levels where public revelation would not compromise American leadership in crucial areas. This approach, developed during the Cold War when information security determined survival, ensures that discoveries that could transform human civilization do so under American guidance and according to American values. Jennifer Reed's analysis of foreign communication intercepts reveals that other nations have detected evidence of American Antarctic activities that exceed anything justified by publicly announced research objectives, suggesting that international competitors recognize Antarctica's strategic importance even without access to classified American findings. The pattern of foreign intelligence gathering around our Antarctic operations indicates they know we're finding things that go beyond ordinary scientific research, she observes, her career in intelligence analysis evident in assessments that focus on competitive implications rather than scientific theory. The foreign interest documented through communication intercepts and satellite surveillance of international Antarctic activities suggests that America's strategic advantages depend partly on maintaining technological superiority and partly on controlling access to discoveries that could level the global playing field if they fell into the wrong hands. The balance between advancing American knowledge and protecting American advantages requires careful coordination between civilian research and military oversight. Helen Foster's experience with materials analysis reveals the practical challenges of reverse engineering technologies that appear to violate known physical principles. Work that requires collaboration between scientists whose theoretical knowledge provides context and engineers whose practical experience enables application. We're dealing with materials that exhibit properties our current understanding of physics can't explain, she admits, her corporate background evident in focus on results rather than theoretical elegance. The engineering challenges are extraordinary, but the potential applications could transform American industrial capacity in ways that would ensure economic dominance for generations. Her work represents the intersection of discovery and development, the process through which classified findings become practical advantages that strengthen American strategic position without revealing the sources of that strengthening to international competitors who would exploit such knowledge for purposes that conflict with American interests and values. The burden of such knowledge weighs heavily on those who carry it, men and women who have spent decades maintaining silence about discoveries that could transform human understanding of its place in the cosmos. You sense their weariness in the careful way they choose their words, the measured pauses that speak of secrets too profound for casual revelation, the melancholy that comes from knowing truths that cannot be shared with the very families they have sworn to protect through their discretion. Admiral Curtis Lansing, now in his twilight years, speaks of sleepless nights spent wondering whether the secrets he has guarded so faithfully will outlive him, whether the knowledge that has shaped his life will die with his generation or find its way to Americans who possess the wisdom to use it responsibly. We've carried this burden for 75 years, he confides, his voice carrying the weight of decades spent balancing duty with desire, obligation with openness. Sometimes I wonder if we've been protecting the country from the truth, or protecting the truth from a country that might not be ready to handle what we've discovered. His generation, shaped by global conflicts that tested American resolve and forged American character, understood that some knowledge requires careful stewardship, that revolutionary discoveries must be managed with the same strategic thinking that won world wars and cold wars. Yet the isolation that such responsibility demands has taken its toll, creating a community of guardians who share bonds deeper than family, but who cannot share the experiences that created those bonds. Dr. Beverly Stone, whose intelligence career spanned 5 decades of Antarctic research, describes the melancholy of watching younger colleagues struggle with fragments of knowledge that she possesses in its entirety. Brilliant minds working on projects whose full significance they cannot grasp, because the complete picture remains classified above their security level. It's like watching children play with components of a machine they don't understand, she explains, maternal affection evident in her concern for researchers whose work contributes to something larger than they realize. They're doing important work, vital work, but they don't know how their pieces fit into the larger puzzle. The generational transfer of such knowledge requires careful selection of successors, identification of individuals whose character and judgment qualify them for responsibilities that will shape their lives as thoroughly as military service shapes soldiers or parenthood shapes families. The process involves not merely security clearances, but assessment of psychological resilience, the ability to maintain perspective while carrying knowledge that challenges fundamental assumptions about human history and potential. Commander Hugh Patterson, whose sons have followed him into military service without knowing the full scope of their father's experiences, wrestles with questions about legacy and inheritance that go beyond family wealth or professional reputation. What do you pass down to your children when what you know could change their understanding of everything? He asks, the question rhetorical, but weighted with genuine uncertainty. How do you prepare them for responsibilities they don't know exist? His dilemma reflects the broader challenge facing American leadership as classified knowledge accumulates across generations, creating institutional memory that spans decades while remaining concentrated in increasingly small circles of cleared personnel. The knowledge grows more complete with each passing year, but the number of Americans qualified to understand its full implications remains carefully controlled. Dr. Rachel Manning, whose termination from civilian research marked her transition into classified work that uses her expertise while constraining her freedom, describes the professional loneliness that comes from being unable to publish findings that could revolutionize her field, unable to share discoveries that represent the culmination of her life's work. I've made observations that could rewrite geology textbooks, found evidence that could transform our understanding of planetary development, she explains, scientific passion warring with security obligations. But I can't share any of it, can't build on it through collaboration with colleagues who don't have the necessary clearances. Her situation illustrates the personal cost of maintaining security around discoveries that could benefit all humanity if released, but which could also destabilize global power structures if not carefully managed. The tension between scientific openness and strategic security requires constant balancing, decision-making that weighs immediate benefits against long-term consequences. Larry Sinclair, whose engineering career shifted from civilian projects to classified work that he cannot discuss even with his wife of 32 years, speaks of the isolation that comes from being unable to share professional achievements with the people whose opinions matter most to him. I've solved problems that will benefit every American family, contributed to projects that could transform our children's future, he confides, pride mixing with frustration in equal measure. But I can't tell anyone about it, can't explain why the work matters or how it connects to everything we're trying to build. The personal sacrifices required to maintain such secrecy reflect the magnitude of what is being protected, knowledge so significant that those who possess it willingly accept isolation in exchange for the privilege of contributing to discoveries that could ensure American prosperity for generations. Their dedication represents a form of patriotism that receives no public recognition, but which serves the national interest with quiet determination. The technological promises hidden beneath Antarctica's ice extend far beyond academic curiosity into realms of practical application that could transform every aspect of American life, from the energy that powers your home to the materials that build your children's future. Roger Stone, whose mining operations accidentally breached chambers that had been sealed for millennia, describes discovering systems that challenge every assumption about what was possible in Earth's past. Technologies that suggest civilizations whose achievements dwarf humanity's most ambitious aspirations. The heating systems we found weren't just maintaining temperature, they were converting geothermal energy with efficiency rates that our best power plants can't match, Stone explains, his businessman's pragmatism evident in assessments that focus on measurable results rather than theoretical speculation. We're talking about technology that could make every American family energy independent while generating surplus power for industrial applications that would revolutionize manufacturing. The implications stretch beyond individual benefits into strategic advantages that could ensure American economic dominance for generations, technology that could free the nation from dependence on foreign energy sources while providing the industrial capacity necessary to maintain global leadership. Stone's discoveries, immediately classified under national security provisions that transformed his company from civilian contractor to government asset, represent just one example of practical applications waiting to be developed from Antarctic findings. Captain Bruce Thorne, whose private expeditions operate under government oversight that ensures discoveries serve American interests while advancing scientific understanding, describes encountering infrastructure that suggests builders who understood engineering principles that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. We've documented construction techniques that achieve structural stability with materials that should be impossible to work with using any known technology, he reports, his explorer's enthusiasm tempered by awareness of the strategic implications. The potential applications for American construction projects, from bridges to spacecraft, could revolutionize everything we build. His findings, carefully documented and immediately transmitted to facilities where American engineers work to reverse engineer principles that could transform domestic infrastructure while maintaining technological advantages over foreign competitors, represent the intersection of discovery and development that characterizes American Antarctic policy. Dr. Monica Wells, whose astronomical research revealed star charts that predate known human civilization by millennia, describes mathematical calculations that suggest understanding of cosmic mechanics that surpass contemporary astronomical knowledge. The precision of these measurements implies observation techniques that we're only now developing through space-based telescopy, she explains, scientific wonder evident in descriptions of discoveries that challenge orthodox timelines while offering insights that could advance American space exploration capabilities. If we could understand their observation methods, we could accelerate our own space program by decades. Her work, conducted under classifications that restrict publication, while ensuring American space agencies have access to findings that could provide strategic advantages in the emerging competition for space resources, represents knowledge that could determine which nation leads humanity's expansion beyond Earth. The medical implications may prove equally revolutionary, as preserved microorganisms found in Antarctic ice exhibit properties that could lead to treatments for diseases that currently defy medical science. Dr. Anthony Blair, whose electromagnetic research has revealed communication systems that operate according to principles that contemporary technology cannot replicate, describes signal patterns that suggest information processing capabilities that exceed anything in American technological arsenals. We're detecting data transmission rates that our most advanced computers couldn't match, using energy consumption levels that seem to violate known physical principles, Blair explains, his technical background evident in assessments that focus on measurable phenomena rather than speculative interpretation. If we could understand their information processing techniques, we could revolutionize American computing capabilities while maintaining decisive advantages over foreign technology development. The economic opportunities extend beyond individual applications into systemic transformation of American industrial capacity. Technology that could ensure manufacturing supremacy while providing employment opportunities that would strengthen domestic prosperity for generations. Helen Foster's materials analysis reveals alloys that exhibit properties that could transform everything from automobile construction to aircraft manufacturing. Materials that could make American products superior to anything foreign competitors could produce. The strength-to-weight ratios we've measured exceed theoretical limits for any known materials, Foster explains, corporate experience evident in focus on practical applications that could generate economic advantages while strengthening American industrial leadership. Manufacturing techniques based on these principles could make American products the global standard while creating jobs that require skills that foreign competitors couldn't easily replicate. The agricultural potential may prove equally significant, as preserved seeds found in Antarctic sites suggest plant varieties that could address food security challenges while reducing dependence on foreign agricultural imports. Dr. Sandra Lodge's climatological research reveals that whatever systems maintain stable temperatures in Antarctic chambers could be adapted for greenhouse applications that would revolutionize American agricultural productivity. The coordination required to develop these applications while maintaining security around their sources demonstrates American capability for long-term strategic planning that balances immediate benefits with sustained advantages, ensuring that technological development serves American interests while contributing to global prosperity under American leadership. Such possibilities require careful stewardship, the kind of responsible development that has characterized American innovation since the nation's founding, ensuring that revolutionary discoveries serve human progress while maintaining the strategic advantages necessary for preserving freedom and democracy in an increasingly competitive world. The white expanse continues to stretch beyond comprehension, holding its secrets in silence that speaks louder than any revelation, silence that carries the weight of knowledge too profound for hasty disclosure. Beneath that silence, patterns of energy pulse through ancient systems like a planetary heartbeat, maintaining whatever was built there through the long centuries of ice and darkness, through epochs when human civilization rose and fell without ever suspecting what lay preserved at the bottom of the world, waiting with infinite patience for the moment when America would be ready to claim its inheritance. You stand now at the threshold of understanding, heir to discoveries that connect the deepest past with the most distant future, guardian of knowledge that your children and grandchildren will inherit when the time comes for revelation. Whether those systems beneath the ice were created by forgotten human civilizations whose achievements surpass contemporary understanding, by visitors from worlds beyond our own, or by something entirely outside current comprehension, they wait now in the deep freeze of possibility, preserved like memories in crystal, untouched by the passage of time that ages everything else beneath the sun. The ice holds its breath in anticipation of decisions yet to be made, choices that will determine whether these discoveries serve the cause of freedom and prosperity or become weapons in the hands of those who would use advanced knowledge to enslave rather than liberate humanity. The responsibility weighs heavily on those who have been chosen to carry such secrets. Men and women who have dedicated their lives to ensuring that when the moment comes for revelation, America will be prepared to handle discoveries that could either usher in unprecedented prosperity or, if mismanaged, fundamentally alter the balance of power that has preserved peace through strength. Admiral Curtis Lansing, now spending his final years in contemplation of a career spent guarding mysteries that may outlive him, finds peace in the knowledge that he has served something larger than himself, something worthy of the sacrifices that secrecy has demanded. His weathered hands rest quietly in his lap as he speaks of legacies that cannot be measured in public recognition, contributions that will benefit generations of Americans who will never know his name, but who will inherit the advantages his discretion has preserved. The melancholy that shadows such dedication reflects not regret, but the natural sorrow that comes from carrying knowledge too vast for individual comprehension, truth too significant for casual conversation. These guardians have walked through life carrying pieces of a puzzle so immense that no single person can grasp its full implications, contributing to something that stretches beyond their own mortality into futures they will not live to see, but which their dedication helps to secure. As night settles over Antarctica, in patterns that have repeated since before human memory began, the continent breathes with the slow rhythm of geological time, inhaling storms and exhaling silence, maintaining its vigil over secrets that will emerge when wisdom and necessity converge. The aurora dances overhead in sheets of green and gold, cosmic radiation painting stories across the polar sky, while the ice below holds its own stories in crystalline suspension, waiting for the sunrise that will illuminate not just the physical landscape, but the destiny that America has been building through decades of patient discovery and careful stewardship. The wind carries no answers across the frozen expanse, only questions that whisper through valleys where no human footprint has ever marked the snow, questions about heritage and responsibility, about the weight of knowledge and the wisdom required to bear it. The silence is not empty, but full, pregnant with possibilities that stretch from the deepest past to the most distant future, heavy with the accumulated patience of civilizations that built for eternity and achieved it. Let the thought settle gently into your consciousness, like snow drifting onto untouched ice, the understanding that there are still mysteries untouched by human certainty, still frontiers that call to the explorer's spirit that built this nation. Not every horizon has been crossed. Not every question has been answered. And in that uncertainty lies a kind of comfort. The knowledge that wonder still exists in a world that often seems mapped and measured beyond the point of surprise. The continent rests in peace beneath its crown of ice, and in its rest there is a lesson about patience, about the value of preserving what is precious until the time comes for its revelation. Whatever lies beneath the frozen surface, whether ancient wisdom or alien technology, whether lost civilizations or natural wonders beyond current imagination, remains safe in its silence, protected by distance and cold and the dedication of those who understand that some gifts must be earned before they can be received. Breathe slower now as consciousness drifts toward the edge of sleep, toward dreams where ice fields stretch to infinity and mountains sleep beneath white veils like guardians watching over treasures too valuable to display. Let the stillness wash over you like a benediction, the peace that comes from knowing that not everything must be known immediately, that patience itself is a form of wisdom, and that the greatest discoveries wait for those who approach them with proper reverence. The ice holds its breath, and in that held breath, possibility lives eternal, preserved in the deep freeze of hope, until the moment arrives for America to claim its inheritance from the frozen heart of the world.